Hello there, you're watching L24 Midnight News, and to the headlines. Palestinians voiced on Thursday their anger and disappointment with the Zionist entity's new government headed by Benjamin Netanyahu. Russia fired schools of missiles into Ukraine earlier Thursday, targeting Kiev and other cities including Lviv in the west and Odessa in the southwest. The official mascot of African Nations Championship, CHAN, which Algeria will host from January 13 to February 4, 2023, was unveiled this Thursday by the local organizing committee. Brazil legend and footballing icon Pelé has sadly passed away at the age of 82 following a battle against cancer. Welcome again, I'm Abdulrahim Kashur, and those were today's top stories. First, the Tunisian President Kais Saied played down abstention in the month's parliamentary elections and slammed critics who had accused him of dragging the country towards tyranny. Kais Saied said that his country is moving in the right direction despite the 11% turnout recorded in parliamentary election, and which was widely criticized by his opponents. The Tunisian president described the elections as the first fair and transparent legislative elections organized in Tunisia, stressing the second round will take place despite the tough criticisms from his detractors.
What is happening currently comes from those who are deeply plunged into corruption and treason. They are plotting every day and every hour against the state. They slander the symbols of the state and try to deal a blow to the state's internal and external security. This cannot go on, and those people cannot remain unpunished.
The UN mission in Libya on Thursday denied reports about supporting the formation of new government in the North African country. In a statement, the UN support mission in Libya called on Libyan rivals to refrain from any actions that could threaten what the statement called the fragile stability in the country. Still in the African continent, courts of appeal in the Malian capital Bamako proceeded with the trial of 46 Ivorian soldiers detained by Mali on charges of plotting and seeking to overthrow the government and undermining the country's external security, in addition to carrying weapons and military ammunition. This is after months of negotiations, mediation, and threats of ECOWAS leaders to impose sanctions on Mali if the soldiers are not released. The Mauritanian Parliament approved during a public session the original draft finance law for the year 2023. The draft finance law aims to boost the level of Mauritanian national economic activity after the negative impact of the coronavirus pandemic, with the aim of achieving economic growth, social justice, and sustainable development. Rwanda's government said on Wednesday that fighter jets from Democratic Republic of Congo barely violated its airspace, the latest accusation to fly between the two countries whose relations have raged this year. Congo, Western powers, and United Nations experts accuse Rwanda of backing the M23 rebels in eastern Congo, who have seized several towns and villages this year. Rwanda denies any involvement, saying the allegations are a tactic to cover up Congo's security failures. Now to the Middle East. Palestinians from the West Bank and Gaza Strip voiced on Thursday their anger and dismay with the Zionist entity's new government headed by Benjamin Netanyahu, who was sworn in Prime Minister on Thursday. Mohammed Khato on What Follow.
Palestinian leaders from Fatah and Hamas movements called for unity and popular resistance against the incoming Zionist government, stressing that Palestinians are not afraid of the new Zionist right-wing government and are ready to confront it. The Palestinian officials also called for stepping up popular resistance against the Zionist entity, especially in the West Bank and East Jerusalem. Palestinian Prime Minister Mohammed Shtayyeh expressed his disapproval of Netanyahu's government, describing it as the most extremist the Palestinians have ever known.
We have gone through several extremist governments, but this government is the most extremist. This government is the most threatening. This government is the most insolent. And I know for a fact that the international community will not deal with many members of this government. So as far as we are concerned, we are against all the governments that practice killing and oppression on our people.
For his part, the Hamas spokesman in the Gaza Strip, Hazem Qasim, warned that the Netanyahu-led government will increase chaos and escalation in all fields.
It is clear that the government that is led by Netanyahu and includes Smotrich and Ben Gvir as members will undoubtedly create policies that are far more provocative. It is tampering with explosive detonators, whether through trying to change the status quo of Al-Aqsa Mosque or the settlement craving that started showing, or the aggression on prisoners. Therefore, yes, this government had created a wide opportunity for massive escalation on the ground, in all fields, and we in Hamas clearly warn against these policies that provoke the Palestinian people and create an explosion detonator.
73-year-old Netanyahu, who is facing trial for serious charges, he denies, has sought to ease concerns about the fate of civil rights and diplomacy, since his bloc of nationalist and religious parties secured a parliamentary majority in the November 1st election.
Still in Palestine, dozens of Palestinians suffocated during clashes with Zionist occupation forces in the village of Ramana, west of Jenin, in the occupied West Bank. Local sources said that the occupation forces stormed the village, which led to clashes that resulted in dozens of civilians suffocating from the tear gas fired by the occupation soldiers. To the European continent, defense ministers of Russia, Turkey and Syria met in Moscow on Wednesday, the first such talks since a war broke out in Syria, which indicate the jump to diplomatic efforts in the coming days. Hussein Berkan.
Signs of reconciliation between Damascus and Ankara are looming on the horizon, 11 years after the outbreak of Syrian crisis and the resulting tensions in relations between the two countries. Perhaps the Turkish side's affirmation of its respect for the territorial integrity of Syria is the best evidence of its intention to turn the page.
One of the most important issues we raised in the meeting is the fight against terrorism. We emphasize that we respect the territorial integrity and sovereignty of all our neighbors, especially Syria and Iraq, and that our only goal is to fight terrorism, and that we have no other purpose.
The eyes of the world are turning to the upcoming reconciliation meeting between Syrian President Bashar al-Assad and his Turkish counterpart Recep Tayyip Erdogan under the Russian mediation as a culmination of the first official meeting at the ministerial level between Ankara and Damascus after 11 years of hostility.
We agreed to continue these meetings in the future, and we hope that peace and stability will prevail in the region as soon as possible. Therefore, we will continue to carry out our duties as we have done so far and do what is necessary. We hope to restore peace very soon.
The most important files that were on the meeting table between the Turkish and Syrian defense ministers were the Turkish ground attack to establish a safe zone along its borders with Syria, which Russia opposes, and the fate of the US-backed Kurdish groups. While waiting for the Moscow meeting to culminate in holding a summit that brings together Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan and his Syrian counterpart Bashar al-Assad to activate Ankara proposal to establish a tripartite diplomatic mechanism that includes Syria, Turkey, and Russia.
Iranian Foreign Minister Hossein Amir Abdullahian announced that the window for nuclear negotiations is still open but will not remain so forever. criticizing what he called the hypocrisy of Western powers on the sidelines of his visit to Oman, which is an important regional mediator. The visit to the Sultanate comes at a time when the nuclear negotiations have reached a deadlock and tensions have increased between the Islamic Republic, Europe, and the United States. For months, negotiations between Iran, the United States, and 5 other countries, namely France, Britain, China, Russia, and Germany, have stalled in the Austrian capital, Vienna, regarding a deal to restore restrictions on Tehran's nuclear program in exchange for lifting economic sanctions that were reimposed by former US President Donald Trump after his country's withdrawal from the agreement in 2018. The Kremlin has said that the Russian President Vladimir Putin will speak with his Chinese counterpart Xi Jinping via video link on 30th of December. The Russian presidency spokesman Dmitry Peskov said both leaders will discuss a series of bilateral and regional issues like the war in Ukraine as well as trade relations between the two countries. The CEO of energy giant Gazprom, Alexei Miller, announced on Wednesday that Russian energy set a new daily record on December 28 for gas deliveries to China via the Power of Siberia pipeline. Gazprom has ramped up supplies to the Asian country compared to what had previously been planned for December, exceeding daily contractual obligations by up 18.7%. The mega pipeline, which is expected to be completed and become fully operational by 2025, will provide China with 38 billion cubic meters of Russian natural gas annually starting in 2024. In the last escalation in the conflict in Ukraine, Russia launched a large round of missiles across Ukraine. President Vladimir Putin, meanwhile, oversaw the commission of new warships on Thursday to further strengthen his country's navy. Nabil Khazini.
The year when the conflict in Ukraine has started is coming to an end. However, the war is still not over. Ukraine has been hit by a new wave of Russian missile strikes in one of the biggest bombardments since the war began. Explosions rocked several Ukrainian cities, including the capital Kiev, after Russia fired more than 100 missiles.
At 7 a.m., the enemy delivered a massive strike on the Ukrainian territory, during which cruise missiles were launched from air and sea as well as anti-craft guided missiles, S-300 and S-400, aimed at critical and energy infrastructure objects in eastern, central, western and southern regions of our countries.
The last bombing on Thursday morning caused significant damage to the national electricity grid, which had previously been severely damaged by strikes by the Russian army. Almost half of Kiev and nearly the entire city of Lviv are left without power, and public transport is paralyzed due to the last strikes. In the midst of this escalation, the Russian President Vladimir Putin oversaw the launch of various new warships along with a nuclear-powered submarine, as he promised to strengthen the country's navy.
I emphasize that we will increase the pace and volume of construction of ships of various categories and equip them with the most modern types of weapons. We will conduct operational and combat training of sailors, taking into account the experience gained, including during the special military operation. In a word, we'll do everything to ensure Russia's security and protect our national interests in the world's oceans.
Putin, who oversaw the ceremonies via video link, said Russia would increase the numbers and variety of vessels available to its navy.
Within a press conference, Wang Wenbin, spokesman of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in Beijing on Thursday, said that China urged all countries to take science-based and balanced COVID response measures that treat people of all countries equally. Wang made the remarks following a number of countries imposed additional quarantine measures on travelers from China.
China has always believed that for all countries, COVID response measures need to be science-based and proportionate that treat people of all countries equally without affecting normal people-to-people exchanges and cooperation. We hope that all parties will uphold the principle of science, work together to ensure safe people-to-people exchanges, maintain the stability of global industrial and supply chains, so as to contribute to international solidarity and world economic recovery.
To the American continent, government buildings were vandalized and raided amid violent protests in the Bolivian city of Santa Cruz after detention of opposition Governor Luis Fernando Camacho. Officers plotted the damage on Thursday at Public Prosecutor's Office, Police Command, Justice Palace, and National Taxes Building. The protests erupted on Wednesday after the arrest of Camacho, which his supporters described as a kidnapping. Bolivia's State Attorney Office said that the arrest was connected to the toppling of former leftist President Evo Morales in 2019. Brazilian police said they arrested 4 people and carried out a nationwide raid on Thursday in investigations into an alleged coup attempt during riots by supporters of defeated far-right President Jair Bolsonaro. Brazilian authorities, led by Supreme Court, have been cracking down on small but committed minorities of Bolsonaro supporters who refuse to acknowledge leftist President-elect Luis Inácio Lula da Silva's election victory and are calling for a military coup. The alleged crimes were qualified damage, burning, criminal association, violent abolition of the rule of law, and coup d'etat, whose maximum combined penalties amount to 34 years in prison. And now for more international news, let's follow this roundup.
At least 19 people were killed in the fire of a hotel casino on the border of Cambodia and Thailand, but the Cambodian authorities fear that the balance sheet is heavier. The fire broke out around 11:30 at Grand Diamond City in the Cambodian town of Poipet. A relief operation carried out jointly by the Cambodians and the Thai was interrupted as working in these conditions is dangerous, according to members of the Thai rescue group.
Brazilian President-elect Luis Inácio Lula da Silva on Thursday announced the final set of 16 cabinet members ahead of his January 1st inauguration, including some allies outside of his leftist Workers' Party, as he seeks to build a broader coalition. The latest nominations came after weeks of talks involving leftist allies and centrist parties expected to provide the president-elect support in Congress, where his leftist coalition is in the minority.
Emergency departments of Strasbourg University hospitals are sounding the alarm. The service is on the verge of breaking down due to the lack of staff, the Christmas holidays, the strike of liberal doctors, and the triple epidemic of COVID, bronchiolitis, and flu. More than 200 patients come to the emergency room every day, which represents an increase of 13% to 14% compared to the same period last year.
Serbs started dismantling barricades in northern Kosovo on Thursday, hours after Kosovo reopened its main border crossing with Serbia, easing a surge in tensions that has alarmed world powers. Serbia also ended a 3-day-old state of alert for its troops, Tanjung News Agency reported, as the sites showed signs of bowing to pressure from the European Union and the United States to step back from mounting confrontation. NATO's peacekeeping mission in Kosovo, KFOR, said it welcomed the removal of the barricades.
Coming back to Algeria, the official mascot of the African Nation Championship, CHAN, which Algeria will host from January 13 to February 4, 2023, was unveiled this Thursday, December 29, by the local organizing committee. The presentation ceremony took place at the headquarters of the Algerian Football Federation in the presence of the Minister of Youth and Sports, Abdelrazak Sebkak, the President of FAF, as well as the President of the Organizing Committee of CHAN, Rachid Oukali. It is indeed a Fennak folks wearing a t-shirt from the Algerian national team called Koptan.
تحديان. التحدي الأول هو النجاح في التنظيم.
Two challenges we have to tackle now. The first challenge is the success in organizing this tournament, and this is what we see so far, signs of which have begun to appear now and under the supervision of Mr. Rashid Kelly, who is required to raise the pace of work to the maximum degree so that we can prepare for everything. The matter is related to the image of our country and its ability to raise the challenge by organizing such continental sporting events. The second challenge will be at the level of stadiums, where we await the support and presence of the Algerian fans in order to encourage the national team.
In the past 2 months of July and August, no one thought that we would be able to equip all of these facilities by 100%, which were programmed to host this tournament. So we can say now, Alhamdulillah, that we were able to achieve this.
Pelé, the magical Brazilian football star who rose from barefoot poverty to become one of the greatest and the best-known athletes in modern history, died at the age of 82. As his daughter posted on Instagram on Thursday, he had been in and out of hospital in recent months after a tumor was found on his colon. Pelé, whose given names was Ederson Arlates to Nascimento, scored a world record of 1,281 goals, and he is the only player ever to win the World Cup 3 times. Pelé had suffered from a series of health issues in recent years, including a hip surgery that left him with recurring pain and trouble walking unaided. He reduced his public appearances but remained active on social media.
Commitment to football. He really represented another era of football, which is very different from today. Today, marketing rules. He had to go through trials by fire many times until he reached the apex.
Santos has a tradition, Robinho or Neymar too. It is an example for all children to know that with dedication and doing what you like, with so many drug problems we have today, sport is a way to lead young people to a better future.
After Maradona heritage, Pelé also living the football history. To this end, ladies and gentlemen, thank you ever so much for being with us. For more updates, you can follow our social media platform. And for now, good night.